My name is Daniel Harper, a 45-year-old retired high school history teacher. For 15 years, I've lived a quiet, meaningful life in Oak Ridge Hollow, surrounded by tree-lined streets and the gentle buzz of summer cicadas. The modest two-story house my late wife, Ellen, and I bought was where I planned to spend my golden years, especially after her passing 3 years ago. This place became more than a home, it became hallowed ground. That front garden? It wasn't just a tangle of wildflowers. It was Ellen's final wish. We planted it together one crisp spring day when she still had the strength to dig beside me. She wanted it to draw butterflies. She adored them, called them whispers between this world and the next. That garden wasn't just plants. It was her memory. Then came Vanessa Reed, a former corporate lawyer in her early 40s, sharp as a blade and about as welcoming. She took over as president of our HOA 6 months ago. Gone were the old-timers who valued community over control. Vanessa's board was packed with polished newcomers, real estate agents, urban planners, attorneys. She wore her power like a tailored suit and used it with surgical precision. Property values strengthen neighborhoods, she declared at her first meeting. Consistent aesthetics ensure prosperity. Her takeover was swift. Within weeks, the old board stepped down, and violation notices started flying. My wildflower garden got its first citation on a Monday morning, a crisp beige envelope with digital photos attached. The charge: unauthorized landscaping. $100 daily fines until corrected. I met with Vanessa, showed her the permits from the local environmental council, native plants, drought-tolerant, certified wildlife habitat. All dismissed with a flick of her wrist. "Mr. Harper," she said, tablet glowing, sunglasses perched like a crown. "While your certifications are noteworthy, Oak Ridge's covenants demand visual harmony with neighboring properties. Your garden stands out." I told her about Ellen, her last project, how she'd watched it bloom from her hospice bed. Vanessa's eyes flickered, but her expression stayed cold. Personal losses don't override the rules we all signed. By the next week, the fines had snowballed. My teacher's pension, already stretched thin from Ellen's medical bills, was crumbling. Then came more violations. My mailbox, the flagpole in my yard, even the stone path to Ellen's garden. I wasn't the only one. Helen Kim, 74, got dinged for her vintage peonies. Victor Alvarez, a retired paramedic, was cited for leaving his garage door up. Even Tim Bradley's wheelchair ramp for his dad was flagged as an unapproved alteration. At the next HOA meeting, the room brimmed with worried neighbors. Vanessa sat unruffled, backed by two stern-faced compliance advisors. "These are the bylaws you agreed to," she said. "If Oak Ridge Hollow doesn't suit your lifestyle, perhaps it's time to move." That night, I charted the violations. A pattern emerged: an L-shaped chunk of a neighborhood, mostly older folks, mostly on fixed incomes. I dug into county records and property sales. 6 homes had sold recently, all to LLCs tied to the same firm, Reed Realty Partners. Reed. It couldn't be chance. I logged everything: dates, times, screenshots, videos. Ellen always said, "Truth keeps receipts." The day before my younger brother, Nathan, arrived, everything exploded. Nathan's a 42-year-old Marine, 25 years in special ops, missions he never talks about. He was easing into civilian life, and our plan was simple: a few days of downtime, fishing, catching up. I came home from my granddaughter's soccer game to find my house sealed, every door and window boarded shut. A laminated notice was stapled to the front: property in violation, access denied, Covenant 8.3. Vanessa stood on my sidewalk, navy blazer spotless, clipboard in hand. "This is my home," I yelled. "You can't do this." She didn't blink. "You failed to comply. Section 8.3 permits this action. My heart meds are in there. My wife's ashes. You've locked me out of my life." Her voice was flat. "You can appeal at the next meeting or consider selling. Reed Realty has an offer ready." It was a trap. I called the police. The officer was kind but helpless, shrugging. "It's a civil matter. We can't break the seal." My neighbor, Miguel, took me and gave me a spare shirt, a toothbrush, rallied some friends. I was floored but grateful. The next day, I met with Laura Martinez, a property law attorney. Her jaw tightened as she scanned the photos and notices. "They've overstepped," she said, "but HOAs are a slow grind. We'll push for an emergency order, but the judge handling urgent cases is Evan Caldwell, used to work for Reed." My heart sank. That night, Nathan arrived. He stepped out of a cab, duffel slung over his shoulder, and saw the boards on my house. "Danny, what the hell's going on?" I spilled it all. He listened, set his bag down, and said, "So they illegally locked you out, targeted retirees, and the cops won't touch it?" I nodded. His jaw tightened. "Then they're about to meet a whole new kind of strategy. We got to work." Nathan called an old teammate specialist in cyber forensics, surveillance, media, Javier, Rachel, even Marcus, a former FBI analyst. They set up encrypted channels. We collected evidence, interviews, timelines, HOA patterns, links between Vanessa, Reed Realty, and her board. Javier found overlaps in LLC filings. Rachel dug up a presentation Vanessa gave at a nearby Collegia pitch for a shopping plaza on our block, dated before any citations. Lucas rallied a local crew: vets, teachers, seniors. We weren't fragile, we were seasoned. Laura filed for an emergency injunction. Channel 9 aired a segment called The Oak Ridge Standoff. Public pressure forced Judge Caldwell off the case, replaced by Judge Monroe. A court officer showed up, ordered the boards removed. Inside, I found a Reed Realty clipboard with plans for a retail strip, dated weeks before my first fine. The HOA called an emergency meeting Wednesday night. The community center was packed: cameras, neighbors, teal ribbons for solidarity. Vanessa walked in with her husband, Richard Reed. "We're here to clarify misunderstandings," she said. Nathan stood. "I'm Commander Holt, 25 years Marines. My brother's home was illegally sealed while he took his granddaughter for pizza. This wasn't enforcement, it was a takeover." He showed the footage, the presentation, the violation logs. Laura held up the Reed clipboard. They didn't just want his house, they had designs for what would replace it before they even cited him. Helen Kim rose, voice trembling but firm. "My parents planted our lilacs in 1970. You called them invasive. You fined me, called my garden a nuisance. You try to wipe out my history, but we're still here together." The room erupted in applause. A vote was called. Vanessa and her board were ousted. Walter Grayson, a retired Navy pilot, stepped in as interim president. His first move: cancel all citations, launch an audit, halt Reed contracts. The fallout was swift. The state attorney general opened a full investigation. Reed Realty paused all Oak Ridge projects. Fines were refunded. Weeks later, neighbors gathered to restore my garden. Helen brought peonies. Miguel fixed my gate. Tim added motion sensor lights. We named it Ellen's Garden. Nathan helped start the Oak Ridge Defense Network, teaching folks about legal protections and record keeping. We weren't just neighbors anymore, we were a fortress. State HOA laws changed after our fight, with new rules shielding seniors, veteran accommodations, and eco-friendly landscaping. Months later, the butterflies came back, just as Ellen had dreamed. I sit in the garden now, watching them dance between blooms, a reminder that justice can arrive on delicate wings. If you're up against something like this, here's my advice: document everything, stand united, and never think the quiet ones won't push back. Sometimes, the fiercest fight starts with a garden full of butterflies.